Good evening. Coming up on News Central, the cult standoff near Waco, Texas has ended with 2 members admitting to starting a fire on the compound. We have all the details.
And President Leonard Plachta has plans to fly to Washington, D.C. to meet with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm David Scott.
And I'm Angie Schramski. News Central is next.
Serving the Mount Pleasant community and Central Michigan University. With Angie Schramski, Dave Scott, John Spitzley with weather, and Todd Cox with sports. Live from Central Michigan University, this is News Central.
The 51-day siege has ended near Waco, Texas this afternoon.
Reports indicate that there is virtually nothing left of the Branch Davidian cult compound. The Justice Department says that 8 cult members are alive, 3 women and 5 men. These survivors are out of an estimated 95 cult members that were on the compound, with 17 of them children. But reports remain sketchy as to how many really survived the fire. Spokesman Carl Stern from the Justice Department says one survivor says he and another cult member started the fire inside the compound using torches. Initially, in the beginning of the fire, there was question of whether the tear gas used by the FBI on the compound actually contributed to starting the fire. Officials did report that all the tear gas used was fire resistant. Stern says 6 cult members were hurt and were taken to Texas hospitals. The 2 members that admit to starting the fire by way of torches are now in custody, and a spokeswoman for the Attorney General, Janet Reno, says the 8 known cult members that survived are in federal custody near Waco. But the FBI is reporting that up to 1/3 of the members got out before it went up in flames. And the fate of cult leader David Koresh and most of his more than 90 followers isn't known. A previous letter that Koresh sent to the FBI last week indicates that he knew of this plan for quite a while, saying the agents would be, quote, devoured by fire, end quote, if they tried to harm him.
The Rodney King verdict came in this past weekend. Early Saturday morning, the federal trial convicted 2 of the 4 officers. Sergeant Stacy Kuhn, officer in charge of the scene at the time, was convicted of allowing King's civil rights to be violated. Also convicted of violating King's rights was Officer Lawrence Powell. He was the one who delivered the most blows during the beating. The 2 officers acquitted were Officers Theodore Brasino and Timothy Wenz. News Central got student reactions to the verdict here on campus.
If they were convicted for something they did wrong, then that was fine, because Rodney King was resisting arrest, but I don't think they should have beat him as hard as they did, so I feel maybe justice was done.
So for some reason I feel that all 4 should have got tried as, got the verdict as the other 2 did, because as you can see, the tape doesn't lie. I mean, all 4 of them sitting up there beating a man that was innocent, whether he was on drugs or not. I hear a lot of people saying that, but to violate somebody's civil rights like that, I just can't understand why only 2 got the verdict and 2 didn't.
I feel that all of the persons that were involved should have been convicted, but they weren't. Just 2 of them were. So in a way, it was fair. At least they got 2 instead of none at all.
I feel it came out pretty fair. 2 of them had been convicted, but 4 guys beat the man, so whether the man was on drugs or not, it's not right. They violated the man's civil rights.
And here on Central Michigan University's campus, in an effort to relieve racial tensions, President Plachta is making a trek to Washington, D.C. There he will discuss racial issues with civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson. The specifics of the meeting's agenda are not being made public at this time, according to CMU Public Relations Director Ray Goldsmith. Plachta will attend the meeting alone, and he plans to leave on Wednesday. West M20 does not have enough traffic and will not have enough money to reroute as planned. The Michigan Department of Transportation has said that the road is not used enough to warrant money from the state for the project. The city and Union Township unanimously approved a plan last September to establish an alternative route through town to M20. The proposed route was a north-south road between Lincoln and Whiteville roads and was met with much criticism by area residents. City Manager Paul Preston and Planning Director Tony Kolick plan to check check the traffic level on High Street and asked the state to reconsider.
There's more going on this month than just end-of-the-year parties. Rod Wonkel has the story.
Is this a sight that you see too often throughout the year? Well, April is National Alcohol Awareness Month, and this could be the time for you to curb those alcoholic tendencies. There's plenty of information available throughout campus, with pamphlets being handed out, posters, activities planned, and a designated driver pledge card that has been a big success.
Usually the campus follows National Collegiate Alcohol Awareness Week, which is in October, which we've had activities. And then in March, they have National Collegiate Drug Awareness Week. So some of our activities right now are a spin-off of coming out of March's Drug Awareness Week to some of the alcohol activities in April, which is a broader campaign.
Central Michigan University has been involved with Alcohol Awareness Month since the early 80s, and according to statistics, they've had an effect.
For most of the what we consider the illegal drugs, we've seen a dip over the years from the education and awareness campaigns that have been done nationally on a large scale. Some things went up just a little bit. We're seeing inhalants going up a little bit, LSD going up a little bit. Alcohol's the tough one. It almost remains somewhat flat.
Mr. Manelli went on to say that even though alcohol consumption hasn't decreased, the number of alcohol-related deaths has. However, mock tombstones have been erected around campus to remind students of the consequences that may be related with alcohol. Rod Wonkel, News Central.
John Spitzley joins us now to give us a look at what's coming up in his weather forecast.
We're looking at rain, wind, and possibly snow by tomorrow night. We'll see a little maybe snow flurries, possibly. I'm going to have all the details coming up a little bit later on.
Not much to look forward to, huh?
No, not really.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and when we return, we got a local reaction to a document that was found in Russia.
And the fate of a 2-year-old girl remains in the hands of the courts. Stay tuned.
Told you before we went to see the kids to wrap them water pipes with insulation.
Yeah, should have listened.
And didn't I tell you to leave the doors under the sink open?
Yep.
And leave the heat on?
Yep.
You know, if you'd done all them things, we wouldn't have had to rip out the wall-to-wall carpet when we got home.
Yep, I know.
And we wouldn't have drowned the Victrola.
Yep, should have listened.
Oh, fool.
Oh, I got one.
Having the right resume is vital to your future career. That's why you need a resume from Copy Corner, your professional resume headquarters. Copy Corner will help you every step of the way, from writing to layout to printing. And you'll end up with a resume to impress any prospective employer. For one resume or 100, you can't beat our prices, high quality, or fast service. So for a professional resume, contact the experts at Copy Corner, located in Saddler Square, Big Rapids, and the Cinema Plaza, Mount Pleasant.
Personally, I learned about the disease and all the implications when my brother was diagnosed. And it was a harsh reality. I had to learn a lot very quickly. Even though I thought I knew a lot about AIDS, the picture changed when it became a family issue.
If I, the son of a Baptist minister from basically a rural area, can acquire AIDS, anybody can.
Obviously, women can get AIDS. I mean, I'm certainly here to witness to that. That it's not a we-they disease, it's an us disease.
AIDS is not a problem that affects other people. AIDS affects us all. Know the facts about AIDS. Know how to protect yourself and your family. Tell others. For answers to your questions about AIDS, call 1-800-342-AIDS.
Retired General John Vesey met today with a former North Vietnamese general about a document that was recently uncovered in Russia that suggests twice as many Americans were prisoners of war in Southeast Asia as Vietnam acknowledged when it released U.S. soldiers in 1973.
Quang, the Vietnamese official who allegedly wrote the report, denies writing the document. Vesey said he doubts about the report and has no reason to disbelieve the Vietnamese general. This document comes at a time when the United States is edging closer to lifting its trade embargo on Vietnam. Mitchell Hall, a professor of history at Central Michigan University, teaches a class on the history of Vietnam, had this to say about the possible opening of formal relations.
Well, I think that it's pretty much inevitable that the United States and Vietnam will open formal relations again sometime in the reasonably near future. Both Vietnam and the United States, I think, would benefit economically from that, and I think we're far enough now away from the war itself that the general public would find this acceptable, and that government officials would find it acceptable.
A licensing procedure launched during the Bush administration would allow U.S. companies to set up offices and negotiate contracts when and if the embargo is lifted.
Even though Michigan State University has more than doubled the amount of grants it receives, MSU officials say the school has not kept up with the growth of funding available for research. The National Science Foundation says the university has fallen 13 spots since 1984 in the national race for research grants, dropping MSU from 27th to 40th among U.S. schools. MSU's Vice President for Research and Grant Education says it's something that the school has to work on.
Grand Rapids churches are working to provide housing and supplies to the mother of 3 children killed when a fire broke out through their home. Fire officials say the blaze, which is believed to have started in the front of the house, caused an estimated $60,000 in damages. Grand Rapids area churches have started a collection to provide housing and supplies to the children's mother, Carolyn Williams. She was at choir practice when the fire broke out. Police say they're working on the fire department on an investigation of the fire.
Police say an 82-year-old Detroit woman has been charged in the slaying of her husband. Rena Sales was arraigned in 36th District Court yesterday on murder and felony firearm charges. Magistrate Izetta Bright entered innocent pleas for Stiles and ordered her held in the Wayne County Jail on a $50,000 bond. Court records show Sales told police that she fatally shot her husband, Charles, in the head Friday following an argument. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for April 28th.
A Michigan program that sets aside 15% of its highway building contracts for women and minorities was challenged in 1990 by the Michigan Road Builders Association, but was upheld today by the Supreme Court. The association that challenged the program claimed that the 95% of its 120 members were excluded from bidding on set-aside contracts. U.S. District Judge Douglas Hillman upheld the program by citing the 1983 Surface Transportation Assistance Act, which says at least 10% of all contracts must go to minorities and women. The lower courts rejected the Road Builders Association's contention that Michigan's use of federal law must come within findings of past discrimination.
An Ann Arbor couple today asked the Michigan Supreme Court to overturn a lower court's order that they return their 2-year-old to her biological parents. The appeal filed on behalf of Jan and Roberta Dubois says the courts have ignored the Dubois' fundamental liberty and interests in family life. An attorney for the child's birth parents had no immediate comment. The Dubois are seeking to overturn a Michigan Court of Appeals ruling that says Michigan courts must enforce the Iowa rulings upholding the biological parents' rights. Backers of the Dubois have flooded the High Court with telephone calls and letters demanding that they consider the case.
According to its January through March earnings, which were released this morning, Chrysler has set a record for first quarter profits. However, the automobile company has nothing to show for its claim to fame as it lost more than $4 billion. The $4.15 billion hit takes care of Chrysler's obligation to pay health benefits for its future retirees. The fully paid health benefits are called for in the company's contract with the United Auto Workers. And with the oldest workforce of the big three automakers, Chrysler faced the greatest health care costs because so many of its hourly workers are nearing retirement. Minus the first quarter profit, the health care charge amounted to a per-share loss of $12.81. GM and Ford will report their earnings later this month.
Ohio prison officials say a preliminary coroner's report has confirmed that guard Robert Vallandigham died of strangulation and nothing else. There appears to be no credence to earlier reports that the guard killed by Ohio inmates in a hostage siege had been tortured and abused. Vallandigham is being buried today, and inmates continue to hold 5 hostages in the 9-day siege. A hostage was quoted by the Columbus Dispatch as saying the others won't be safe if authorities try to storm the prison. The 7,700-member Los Angeles police force is coming off alert in the wake of the verdicts of the Rodney King civil rights trial. On tactical alert since Friday prior to the decision, the officers had been on 12-hour shifts in anticipation of possible riots. The alert ended early this morning, and authorities say there has been no verdict related to crime reported.
When we come back, Todd Cox will be in with all the latest highlights from CMU's baseball doubleheader over the weekend.
But first, John will be back to tell us if this rainy forecast will last through the week. Stay with us.
Long ago, in a place where there was nothing, something incredible began to happen. As the centuries passed, a beautiful forest blossomed, and all was well. Then one day, a man was careless. And once again, there was nothing.
That's my dad. And that's Mom. Dad's got an idea, a way to get rid of all the grody garbage that's polluting the world. He's invented a big rocket ship to shoot all the garbage into outer space. Mom's not sure, but Dad says his invention will save the world.
There's an easier way to save the world. Recycle. For your free recycling action guide, write Recycle. Environmental Defense Fund, 257 Park Avenue South, New York, New York.
Do you live like this? Crowded, overpriced, distant from campus? Why? When Arthur's Village offers affordable, spacious apartments close to campus. Residents especially like the large bedrooms and ample living space.
I have so much room here at Arthur's Village I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Now I have room for all my stuff.
Arthur's Village apartments are not only spacious, but affordable too. With 9-month leases and low summer rates, Arthur's Village meets students' budgets.
Arthur's Village is so affordable that after paying my rent, I have enough money left over to do the things I enjoy doing.
Arthur's Village economical 3- and 4-bedroom furnished apartments are also close to campus.
I just had a rough day of classes. I'm ready to go over to SAC, work off a little tension, playing some hoops. And since I'm so close to campus, I can be there in a few minutes.
Arthur's Village. Spacious. Affordable. Close to campus. Located at 722 West Broomfield. Call 772-2163 for more information.
Well, good evening, everybody. Currently outside it is raining. We have a temperature at 38 degrees. It's really quite cool out with the wind. And our dew point's at 37, giving us a relative humidity of 96%. And the barometer is falling at 29.87 inches. And the wind is strong out of the northeast, gusting to 22 miles at times. If we look at our almanac, you'll see that the normal high is about 58 degrees. We're well below that right now. We've had a record high of 81 back in 1958. And our normal low is 37. We had a record low of 24 back in 1983. If we can take a look at our national map, you see that there is a low pressure system in the central part of the United States. That's touching off the rain for us. It's also touching off rain to our south, and below the warm front, you'll see that there is a good chance that some thunderstorms could develop tonight as the air is very unstable there. But back behind that, you see a stationary front. That's touching off more rain off to our west. That'll be the case for us as the moisture pushes off to the east. And the stationary front should remain there for the next few days, giving us cooler temperatures, cool to the north, and warmer off to the south. If we look at our temperatures for tomorrow, you will see that we will stay cooler in the 40s, and it is quite warm off to our south as warm air is being pushed up. Temperatures are getting into the 70s, but we aren't going to see anything like that for quite a while the way it looks. Temperatures, we're going to stay in the 40s and 50s, so we're going to struggle to push 50 for tomorrow and for Wednesday. If we look at our state map right now, you will see that there is a front extending through. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out where it is, as the 60s are to the south and getting all the way into the 40s and 30s off to the north, even around 32 up in Marquette. If we look at our forecast now for tonight, you'll see occasional showers continuing through the nighttime. We should get down to 34 degrees, and winds will still be strong out of the northeast at 10 to 20. And then for tomorrow, rain will be continuing. There will be a possibility of some flurries by evening as things start to cool off and get around freezing, and the winds are still going to be strong out of the southeast around 10 to 20. And our extended forecast calls for possibly rain on Wednesday, clearing out then by Thursday, but then another system is already developing off to the west and will be in here for the weekend for Friday and Saturday. And we're going to see our temperatures struggling into the 50s, and our lows are going to be in the 30s. So really not a very pretty picture for the week. We have a possibility of sun Thursday, but really nothing really great to speak about.
Not a very good forecast, John.
I'm sorry I couldn't do better, but...
Will the good weather ever get here?
Well, hopefully. I mean, it's inevitable that it's going to warm up, but it's just taking its time getting there.
Okay, and the snow is forecasted for tomorrow?
For tomorrow night as things cool off, as that front pushes off further, the cold air is going to be ushered in, and we'll see possibly some snow flurries.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, Todd Cox is next with sports. Stay with us.
Having the right resume is vital to your future career. That's why you need a resume from Copy Corner, your professional resume headquarters. Copy Corner will help you every step of the way, from writing to layout to printing. And you'll end up with a resume to impress any prospective employer. For one resume or 100, you can't beat our prices, high quality, or fast service. So for a professional resume, contact the experts at Copy Corner, located in Saddler Square, Big Rapids, and the Cinema Plaza, Mount Pleasant.
Honey, it's Mom. Please let me in. I'm worried.
Learn to see the signs of mental illness. 2 out of 3 people who get help get better. For a free booklet, call the National Mental Health Association.
Everyone has their own idea of a hero.
Magic Johnson. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mr. Neal.
My hero, Gloria Stefan.
Martin Luther King. Mr. Hope.
These are teachers, but to the kids they've reached, they're heroes. They've given them hope. They've given them choices. They've changed their lives.
Well, the children are the heroes.
The most fulfilling thing is watching a child succeed.
I just like to help them make their dreams come true.
Teachers have the power to wake up young minds, to be heroes, to make a difference. Reach for that power. Teach. If you want to make an impact on our future, call 1-800-45-TEACH.
Mr. Wilkins.
Mrs. Eisenhower.
Mr. Adler.
Be a teacher. Be a hero.
Todd joins us now with sports.
Todd, big doubleheader for CMU baseball on Saturday.
It was a big doubleheader. CMU took 2 of the 4 games and used a 6th inning and tied an NCAA record by sweeping a doubleheader from Ball State on Saturday by the scores of 4-3 and 3-2. The Chippewas tied an NCAA record of 5 errors in 1 inning, which was held by New Mexico. The 5 errors came in the first inning when Ball State scored their 3 runs. But Central came back and used a 6th inning to score 3 runs for the win. Aaron Knieper went the distance for his 6th win. In the second game, the The Chippewas took an early 2-0 lead as Matt Rulig singled home Dan Bergman and Scott Doyle, but the Cardinals came back to score 2 runs in the 4th inning to tie the game. Central took the lead for good in the 6th as Rulig singled, moved to second on a walk, and went to third on a pass ball, and then scored on a balk by Cardinal pitcher Chad Doherty. Todd Schaefer got the win despite allowing 7 walks and 5 hits, and he improves to 3-1 on the season. The Chips moved to 22-7 overall and 10-4 in the MAC, as they are a half a game ahead of Bowling Green in the MAC. Turning to the major ranks, the Detroit Tigers continued their hot hitting yesterday as they used the 9th inning for their heroic comeback win to beat Seattle 8-7. Travis Fryman was a hero of this game as we traveled to Tiger Stadium and the corner. It's already 2-0 Seattle in the 3rd as Milt Kyler goes to the right center field in the gap as Travis Fryman scores all the way from first and Kyler gets a triple. And then Lou Whitaker is up and he drives it to left center for a double as Ken Griffey Jr. can't flag it down as Kyler scores. It's tied at 2. The Tigers will take the lead when Fryman drops this double down the first baseline and Whitaker will score to make it 3-2. And then Cecil Fielder will get into the act with this RBI single as Fryman comes around third to score again, 4-2 Tigers. And then Scott Livingstone will bring home Cecil on this RBI single, and it's now 6-2 Bengals. But Seattle makes it interesting as the score is 6-5 in the 8th when Pete O'Brien will take Mark Leiter deep to right in the upper deck. It's tied at 6. But the next batter, Dave Valley, goes the other way as the ball barely goes over the fence as it's now 7-6 M's. To the bottom of the 9th, and Fryman hits a long fly ball here as Valley trots around the bases, and then Fryman hits a long fly ball deep to left field as Tiger broadcaster Rick Riz would say, "Goodbye, baseball." The Tigers extended their winning streak to 5 games with that win. Turning to the major leagues and the American League, Cleveland down Toronto 6-5. Indians Albert Bell and Paul Sorrento hit a two-run homers. Boston shut out Chicago 4-0. Frank Viola scattered 9 hits for his first shutout at Fenway Park in 5 years. Milwaukee shut down Oakland 8-0. Cal Eldred and Doug Henry combined to pitch a shutout for the Brewers. Kansas City eked out a 5-4 win over Minnesota. Jose Lean had 3 hits and drove in 2 runs for the Royals. Texas clobbered New York 12-2 as Jose Canseco hit a 2-run homer and drove in 4. Baltimore edged California 4-3. Cal Ripken Jr. drove in the winning run for the Orioles. And then turning to the senior circuit, it was a slugfest in San Francisco as the Giants down Atlanta 13-12. Matt Williams hit 2 home runs, including the game winner in the 11th. It was Los Angeles holding on to beat Pittsburgh 6-4. Eric Karros hit his first home run of the season, and Kevin Gross won his Major League 100th game. Cincinnati down to New York 3-2. Kevin Mitchell drove in the winning run with a sacrifice. Montreal came from behind to beat Colorado 4-2. Larry Walker drove in the winning run for the Expos. Houston shut out Florida 3-0 as Pete Harnisch and Doug Jones combined on a 4-hitter. It was San Diego 10, St. Louis 6. Gary Sheffield hit 2 homers and drove in 5 runs, and Tony Gwynn went 5-for-5. And Philadelphia outscored Chicago 11-10 as Dave Hollins had a 3-run homer in the 11th to win it for the Phillies. 2 of the oldest rivals in the NHL will face off tonight as the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings will play Game 1 of the Norris Division semifinals at the Joe Louis Arena. Game 1 and Game 2 will be at Joe Louis Arena tonight, and then Game 3 and Game 4 will move to Toronto. And then Game 5 will be at Detroit if necessary. Game 6 will be in Toronto if necessary. And then Game 7 will be back in Detroit if necessary. Both these teams won 3 games and tied 1 during the regular season. Elsewhere in the NHL playoffs yesterday, there was a couple upsets as St. Louis upset Chicago 4-3. Brendan Shanahan and Brett Hall scored 17 seconds apart for the Blues win. It was Quebec needed overtime to beat Montreal 3-2. Scott Young scored 16:50 into the overtime to lead the Nordiques to the victory. Buffalo needed overtime to beat Boston 5-4. Former Bruin Bob Sweeney scored in overtime to defeat the Bruins. Pittsburgh doubled up in New Jersey 6-3. Mario Lemieux scored 2 goals and added 2 assists. It was Los Angeles 6, Calgary 3. Former Red Wing Jimmy Carson led the Kings with 2 goals in the contest. And Washington down the Islanders 3-1. Dale Hunter scored twice in the 3rd period. And finally, in NFL news, Joe Montana says he will not accept the San Francisco 49ers offer to be the team's designated starting quarterback and that he will play for the Kansas City Chiefs. The 49ers have assured him that they will complete the trade. Montana said that staying with San Francisco will not be a benefit for the club. And one other note, former Bear and free agent Brad Muster signed a 3-year deal with the New Orleans Saints for $4 million.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Ange?
Just an update on our top story this hour in Waco, Texas. A law enforcement source says cult leader David Koresh is believed to be among the dead in the fire that leveled the Branch Davidian compound in Texas. There are more than 90 people in the compound. The source says only 8 are believed to have survived, and officials say that cultists started the fire. Officials say they must search the maze of tunnels under the Branch Davidian complex near Waco, Texas, to learn the death toll in today's fire.
That's it for News Central. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good night.